Hello, everyone. I am going live real quick here. Um, I'm not going to have a lot of time today. It's been a while trying to improve some things with the website, with the projections, and then I had to get everything updated. And you know how it is with the pain. So I'm doing my best, and I did my best. And my wife will be home very shortly. So this is going to be time limited until my wife gets home, which means I'm going to be doing this video in a different format today than I normally do. This one, I'm going to go and start with the summary, and then I'm going to go uh, a little further into things. So what I want to do right now is make sure I have everything up. That is today's slate indeed. Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to start off with the batters today because this is one that I really, really like, and I think there are a ton of really, really great places that we can exploit. The first of which is going to be the most obvious one for today, and that is going to be the Yankees. They are going to be chalk, but they are going to be chalk for very good reason. The weather conditions are great, hot and humid. And they are going against Clayton Richard, who is the worst pitcher on the slate. And if you look at their lineup, I mean, 1 to 9, you can count on them. LeMahieu, Judge, Sanchez, Stanton, Voit, Encarnacion, Hicks, Glaber, Torres, Urshela. If I'm playing one lineup today, I'm going to try my best to get as many of those Yankees as I can. Hicks for 4,000 is a little bit of a steal. Stanton and Judge are still underpriced, 46 and 4,700. Urshela is underpriced at 4,200. There are ways of getting five legitimately fantastic Yankees bats for under 5,000 per. So I think that if you are going to do that, then it leaves it leaves less options for you pitching wise if you look at it holistically. Obviously, spending over 4,200 per person on a stack isn't going to let you take Scherzer and Garrett Cole, but that's the question that you're going to have to ask yourselves today. So I'm going to go through just again the stacks that I like in chronological order, but I'm going to rank them as I go. Because it's just going to be easier that way. So again, Yankees, number one. The Mets and the Phillies are both fantastic offenses that I would focus on today. The Phillies more so than the Mets. Walter Lockett, I have projected to get negative points today, which I'm not surprised at. The Phillies are projected to get 6.2 runs. They are probably going to put a hurting on him. And then they get the wonder of the terrible Mets bullpen to shell off on as well. So, this is a Phillies team that's hitting well. They always hit well against the Mets. They're coming off a huge game, and as well as they're expected to do, the fact that the Yankees are there. Hey, Artis, how you doing today? The fact that the Yankees exist today means that the Phillies are going to be underowned. On the other side, we have the Mets against Jake Arrieta. I think they're one of the sneakiest today. I've talked about this often. I like to analyze which teams I think have the best chance of getting to 10 runs today. That's how I determine, the grades of how I stack. I don't know how anybody else does it, but I have my way of figuring out who I think is going to get to 10 runs, and who has the most likely to do that is going to be higher ranked than who isn't. And then I can factor in price and everything else to determine, what I like the best. And I can tell you that the Mets are expensive, but they are underpriced for a team that does have a legitimate chance of getting to 10 runs today. Arrieta has not been pitching well, and the Phillies bullpen is an absolute mess. So, the Mets showed yesterday that 7 runs isn't that hard for them. They got home runs up and down the lineup. The only one I wouldn't play is Robbie Cano because he's been extremely cold, although I can understand when I'm going to take the chance on him at 3,200. You know what I mean? It's not like, Robbie Cano is cold and he's 8,000. He's relatively incredibly cheap if you want to fit him in as a second baseman and hope that this is one of the days that he gets hot. It's always good in Philadelphia if you're a left-handed batter. Always. That ballpark is a sardine can. So next game, I would again look at bats here. We have the Padres and the Orioles. The Padres, anytime you're going against the Orioles, it's the free square. On top of that, though, they have Yacobonis going to, what's his name? Oh, geez, I have it in my room here. Sorry, folks. They're going to the worst long reliever guy in baseball. I can't remember his name because it's so plain. Josh Rogers. It sounds like somebody that gets created in like 2025 in MLB The Show. Josh Rogers is now drafted by the Chicago Cubs. So the Padres are a free square today. Absolutely love them. I would rank them so far second best stack behind the Yankees, above the Phillies, and that's going to separate you because a lot of people are going to go a lot harder on the Phillies than they are going to on the Padres. But you can get Tatis, Machado, Renfroe, Reyes, Naylor, Mejia underpriced at $3,300 for a really good hitting catcher. There's just too many bats on the Padres that are underpriced and are going to be underowned. And then on the other side, Logan Allen is not that good a pitcher. So I think, like with the Mets, you can get the Orioles as one of the sneaky underowned stacks. I don't really have them with a great chance of getting the 10 runs. But, all things being considered, I mean, the Padres do have a great bullpen as well. All things being considered, there are some cheap dudes there that are going to be underpriced for, what they can provide. Alberto leading off, second, third base eligibility on DraftKings for $3,400 is a lefty masher. There's spots you can, and I'm not going to take Logan Allen, except if I'm playing a lot of different lineups, and I would have some interest in the Orioles lineup. Next up, the Cleveland Indians would be one of my favorite stacks today. Again, Glenn Sparkman I would have as the second worst pitcher pitching today, which would mean that the Indians are going to be far up in the upper tier of bats that I like. They have been hitting well lately as well, which is a nice boost, to their upside. They're getting 6 runs, according to Vegas, 6.2, according to the last update I saw. On top of that, confirmed lineup, Santana, Kipnis, Jose Ramirez, and Bobby Bradley have been hitting really, really well lately. Lindor's been cold, but you could. So if you want to avoid him for 5,100, I can understand that. But there's plenty of other bats there. You could get Santana, Kipnis, Ramirez, Bradley for an average of about 4,400. Santana's the expensive one at 53, but you can work your way into an Indians lineup against a very bad Glenn Sparkman and a very bad Kansas City bullpen. Next game, you can take the Nats bats against Trevor Richards, but they're so far down that, it's one of those if you're playing 150 things. The next game is the Rangers-Tigers. I like Jesse Chavez as a pitcher. So if anything, he's entered the starting rotation. I'll get to it later, but I'm not on the Detroit Tigers today whatsoever. I am on the Texas Rangers. I've talked about how Jordan Zimmerman is a very bad pitcher. And he might have some flashes of 2011 Jordan Zimmerman, but those are few and far between. Normally he just throws meatballs over the plate. I wish this game was in Texas, so the 85 degrees with decent winds would mean a little bit more, but still 85 degrees in Detroit with winds blowing out at 11 is a nice boost to Texas. So I would put Texas, again, underneath the Yankees, underneath the Padres, underneath the Phillies, but I would put them slightly I'd probably put them slightly behind the Indians. But those top 5 stacks that I've talked about are all in fantastic shape. On the next game, we have the Sox and the Sox. Carson Fulmer taking on David Price. This is one, the Red Sox are projected to get almost 7 runs here, and I would be under the field on that. Carson Fulmer is a fantastic prospect, and while he can get hammered, and he probably will get hammered, this is one of the places that I'm going to make a stand. It's going to be in the light rain. I don't think that it's going to facilitate a delay. I don't think it's really going to matter. Like, we don't have to fade anybody in this game. But, unlike all these other parks where it's going to be 85 and humid with the wind blowing out, here it's going to be in the mid 60s with rain. And rain, while not having a huge effect, does have an effect in terms of increasing the way a pitcher pitches or the score a pitcher can get. It keeps balls in the park effectively. So essentially, the Red Sox are a great stack today, but I would put them underneath the top tier when it comes to how much I like them. I do give the due respect to Carson Fulmer. While I'm not going to play him today, I respect his pedigree and his skill set enough that I am going to be a bigger fan of just kind of avoiding both altogether, taking some of the better stacks, like, again, the Yankees or the other four that I've mentioned. Next up, we have the Braves and the Cubs. And this is another kind of wind game in Chicago. Yesterday, the wind was projected to be about 14, 15 miles an hour. Now it's projected to be 10. Sorry, my wife is texting me. And it's projected to be 10. So it's still going to have an effect. It's still going to lead to, the bats having an advantage over the pitchers. As you can see that in a 12 total from Vegas, which is insane out of Coors Field, but that's what you see. There's a reason yesterday when I wrote the article, I talked about how people jump on Wrigley Field wind games the way they jump on Coors Field games, and there's a good reason for it. It's because, the historicity of everything says that you should. And the 12 projected run total in Vegas should confirm the fact that, while 100% of the games aren't going to, go off necessarily, as yesterday didn't, they all have a huge chance of going off, just like a Coors Field game. Here we have Max Fried taking on Adbert Alzolay. This is one where, again, I am all about the bats here. I think that the ownership on them is going to be higher than the outcome necessitates. So basically what I'm saying is I think that both teams are in good shape, but they're going to be too chalky for how I would project them to score today. So for that reason, like with the Red Sox, I would consider fading both of these teams. Max Fried is a very good pitcher, and while he has not been in fantastic form lately, he is decent enough at keeping the ball on the ground and not giving up home runs. And my laptop is going to die, and by trying to get the plug for the laptop, I accidentally turned the lights off. Spooky! So I'm going to have to fix a few things there. Pardon me. Doing this like everything else is painful. Let's plug the lamp back into this thing here. So you have the Braves, who are going to be very highly owned because of the win game. I apologize for that. But Max Fried is a decent pitcher, so I wouldn't be surprised if the Cubs get under the 6 runs, and they're going to be over-owned. They're going to be owned as if they're to get 8 like the Yankees are. And then on the other side, you have Adbert Alzolay, who is one of, if not the top Cubs prospect for pitchers. When they called him up last week or so, he came in long relief against the Mets. I watched that game, and oh my God, this kid can pitch, boy. Whoo! He went 4 innings in that game, 5 strikeouts, 19.2 DKP in 4 innings, and his price is only $6,800. So, I am going to list him as one of the pitchers I like today, regardless of the 6.1 run total. So, while I wouldn't, again, rule out either of these teams in terms of their offense, especially considering the projected total, if I lived in a sports gambling state, I would bet the under on this game, and I would be under on the ownership. on both these teams. I, again, would rather have the Yankees especially. I would rather have the Padres, the Phillies, the Indians. I'd rather have, the Rangers. There's a lot of great options today for bats, and that's one that I would rather avoid. The next game is the Rays and the Twins. This is one where I'm just kind of avoiding the game as a whole. Snell has looked awful lately, but he's coming off a Cy Young, so it's silly to stack against him given the other options unless you're playing 150. And Kyle Gibson is a decent enough pitcher, and the Rays have been cold enough lately that there's no reason to really go there either. Mariners and the Brewers, we have Marco Gonzalez, who is a terrible pitcher that gives up a ton of home runs. The Milwaukee Brewers are a fantastic lineup. I absolutely love the new look on the Brewers lineup that they've been doing the last few days, with Grandal leading off, Yelich second, then Braun and Moustakas. It gets a little dicier there. Like, I'm not a big fan of taking Aguilar. I don't want Ben Gamel against a lefty. Hernan Perez, you can take a chance on for 3,300, but even that's a risk. So I love the Brewers stack, but I really love taking. I'm sorry for all this, guys. I couldn't get down the stairs today, so I have to do it on the laptop. It hurt too much to walk, so I apologize that I have to do it this way. But I'm trying my best. You guys know, if nothing else, I give you everything I have every day. So the Brewers, I would be more interested in like a mini stack. It's a very expensive mini stack, but Grandal, Yelich, and Moustakas especially, because people aren't going to play that lefty on lefty. And then Braun, who is a lefty masher and underpriced at 4,400, given his recent history. Zach Davis, like Kyle Gibson, is decent enough, and there are better options that I really don't want to stack against him. The next game, the Astros, I would normally say, Trevor Williams is not one of those pitchers you really like to stack against. He's good at keeping the ball on the ground, but George Springer should be coming back tonight, and that Springer, Altuve, Bregman, Brantley, Yordan Alvarez 1 through 5 is absolutely nasty, and I cannot wait for them to get Correa back, because that Springer, Altuve, Bregman, Brantley, Correa, Yordan Alvarez 1 through 6 is going to be the best lineup in baseball. So, hold on, I have to text my wife. Apologize, my wife. If you're married, you understand. If you're not, you will. So the Astros getting Springer back, I absolutely love. Flat out, Trevor Williams is a decent enough pitcher that, like I said, I normally don't stack against him. But getting Springer back is just huge. So I don't think that they're going to be owned enough for that, again, given the amazing amount of other options out there today. Next, and that's basically it in terms of bats that I like. I don't think a stack against Bassett or Flaherty is. And the Astros lineup comes out, and it is exactly what I said it was going to be: Springer, Altuve, Bregman, Brantley, Yordan. Those are fantastic. So absolutely take your chance on those guys. I don't want to stack against Bassett or Flaherty. I don't want to stack against Stripling or Robbie Ray. I don't want to stack against Chichi Gonzalez or Madison Bumgarner. Although I do love Arenado as a one-off, and Chichi Gonzalez is not that good a pitcher, but it's the Giants. And then as tempted as I am to put the A's there, I think they're going to be again over-owned for the projections that they have. I think, you can take La Stella and Otani. They're underpriced. Upton at 4,100 and Calhoun at 4,100 are underpriced. But as a whole, there are so many better games against worse pitchers. So again, to sum it up, I would like to focus on the Yankees, the Padres, the Phillies, the Indians, and the Texas Rangers as my 5 favorite stacks. I think that they are going to be the 5 highest scoring teams today, and I think that regardless of how chalky the Yankees are going to be, that's the one chalky one that I am 100% a fan of being over. I am going to be underweight on the Red Sox, the Braves, the Cubs. Let's see. And what else was there? Yeah, I think those, and the Angels, I would say. I think those are going to be relatively chalky. And I think that there are enough ways for them to lose, well, not lose the game, but lose you GPP or lose you, points in what, in DFS. So, those games I would avoid the hitting, again, unless you're playing like 150. So let's move on to the pitchers real quick here. Keep checking to see if anybody has any questions. So this one, is going to be a lot easier. The reason, I normally always start with pitchers, both when I'm writing and when I do these videos, but this is just one where there's so many bats that it's so much easier to just talk about all the bats because the amount of pitchers left behind is infinitesimal. So, you can't play Richard, you can't play Chad Green because the Yankees are going with a bullpen game. He's not going to get any innings. You can't play Lockett, you can't play Arrieta. You can't play Logan Allen, you can't play the Orioles bullpen game. You can't play Sparkman, and we have our first legitimate pitching option today, Shane Bieber. Shane Bieber, I like a lot. I don't think that would be a surprise to anybody. I think that he matches up really, really well against a struggling Kansas City Royals team that is significantly better against lefties. And he is a righty that has been pitching really, really well lately. If you look over the last couple of weeks, a 13.2 strikeouts per 9 to a 0.66 walks per 9, which means he's gotten 20 strikeouts and 1 walk, given up 0 home runs. He has a 0.73 whip, and this is one of the things I love to see. 2.63 ERA, but a 0.47 FIP with a 1.75 xFIP. So, Shane Bieber is a fantastic option today. If you want to pivot off of what should be a chalky Max Scherzer, Shane Bieber is going against, not an equally bad offense, but a comparatively bad offense when they don't have Adalberto Mondesi. I'm not scared of Hunter Dozier and Lucas Duda and Chesler Cuthbert and Nicky Lopez. So Shane Bieber, first fantastic pitching option we have today. Next up, we have Max Scherzer. In this game, Max Scherzer is one of the best pitchers in baseball. He's going against the worst offense that I've ever seen in my life that's projected to get 2.6 runs today. The only thing that should stop you from playing Scherzer today is ownership or the fact that you just can't afford it because he's $12,400. And now my wife is home, so let's speed this up. Jesse Chavez is stretched out. He just pitched 5 innings. He is a fantastic pitcher. The Tigers are a very bad team, so you are 100%. Seppi, come here. Seppi, come here. Hey, come here. Uh-oh. My doggy's going to try to run out in the garage. So Jesse Chavez, I absolutely love today. He is 5,300 on DraftKings, and I would project him to, be able to get you 5 or 6 innings, get you the win, get you a bunch of strikeouts against a Tigers team that strikes out more than anybody in baseball. So absolutely love him today. He would be the best of the punt option pitchers. Next, David Price is underpriced for what I talked about in this game, having a slight boost to pitchers. Absolutely love him today. Again, I'm going to take a big shot on Adbert Alzolay. He's going to be unowned, and I have no problem running with him today. He is a fantastic pitcher with incredible upside, and no one is going to be on him because of the win game. Garrett Cole, I would put under Scherzer because I'd rather pay up for Scherzer, and I would put him under Bieber because I would rather pay down for Bieber. Cole has been spotty enough lately that I am sorry if you can't see me. Come here, Zep. Cole has been 1, 2, 3. Oopala! Cole has been spotty enough lately that I am, fine with paying up or paying down for other pitchers. And then, the rest of it is kind of a wasteland. I don't want Bassett against the Cardinals. Flaherty is underpriced, but I would rather spend down, for one of the other pitchers that I've talked about, namely an Alzolay. Oh man, he's playing. Oh, I love him. Namely an Alzolay or Jesse Chavez. I also want to point out that Carson Fulmer's FIP over the last couple of weeks is negative. So again, the Red Sox is someone I'm looking to fade. Fulmer has 18 strikeouts per 9 over the last couple of weeks as well. So we should definitely pay attention to that. And then, I don't want to play Stripling or Robbie Ray, but I don't want to stack against them. Chichi Gonzalez is too expensive. Madison Bumgarner is a lefty going against the Rockies. And then I like Heaney and I like Molly, but not nearly as much as other options. So that is it for the video. I got to go help my wife and my son. Thank you for watching. I love you all. Have a beautiful day and best of luck. Say hi, Polly. There's Debbie. Go ahead.